Happy Friday. Time to turn your brain off. Welcome back to another episode of Murder, Mysteries, and More. I'm Kaylee.
And I'm Desi.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell next to the subscribe button to turn on post notifications. Before we get into this case, we always encourage those who have useful information for any unsolved case to please report it to your local police and sheriff department.
Have you ever wanted to die and be encased in a tomb forever? Well, now you can. With the Nappy Time Forever coffin, you can die and sleep at the same time. Just call 1-800 Tomb Me Up. Only 99.99.
Now, you may be asking yourself, what the fuck does a tomb have to do with a mystery? Well, you're about to find out because today we're diving into King Tut and how his murder has been unsolved since his death in 1323 BC.
So Tutankhamun was born as Tutankhaten to Akhenaten, and his mother, who is unknown at this time, in 1341 BC. And his parentage is often questioned, as his parents were biological full siblings, and many speculate that Kaya, Queen Nefertiti, or known as the Younger Lady, a figure, was his mother, which this would make sense because Kaya and Nefertiti were wives of Akhenaten, and Tutan's grandparents were Queen Tut and Amenhotep. Amenhotep III. Amenhotep, his grandfather, was also a pharaoh, and most say he was one of the most successful pharaohs. He reigned during a period of peace and prosperity. Akhenaten was the pharaoh that came before the King Tut, in which he demanded his people to worship Aten, previously a minor god. But before him, Egypt was actually a polytheistic society, which means that they worship many gods instead of just one god. Akhenaten died when Tut was only 8 to 9 years old, so this made him the next ruler of Egypt. Tutan took the throne named Nebuchadnezzar.
King Tut made a great impact during his reign from 1332 to 1323 BC. He restored the traditional polytheistic form of ancient Egyptian religion, and his endowments and restorations of cults were recorded on what is known today as the Restoration Stela. The cultural god Amun as Thebes was restored to prominence, and the capital was moved from Amarna to Memphis. King Tut and his wives changed their names to Tutankhamun and Ankhesemen to signify this change. He also reestablished diplomatic relations with the Mitanni and carried out military campaigns in Nubia and the Near East. King Tut had many great advisors during his reign, such as the Grand Vizier, and Horemheb, which was the commander in chief of the military. He was also one of only few kings to be worshipped as a deity. King Tut likely began construction of a royal tomb and temple in the Valley of the Kings, but this sadly was never finished.
King Tut died at the young age of 18 from unknown circumstances, and scientists have speculated on how exactly he died and what exactly from. So the first theory was dun 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 murder, and this theory is supported by Egyptologist Robert Breer, who argued that the damage to the back of Tut's skull was consistent with a fatal blow to the back of the head. And this was actually identified in an X-ray in 1968. Robert Breyer suggests that Tut had been murdered by someone who felt that the young king got in the way of their own plans. So King Tut, Ankhesemen, wrote in a sounding letter to the Hittite king. In it, she requested a Hittite prince for her to marry and rule alongside. She also wrote that she would not marry a servant of hers and was afraid. This suggests that the queen was aware or suspected that Tut had been murdered by someone in Egypt and could only trust to turn to foreigners. Unfortunately, that did not happen as Prince Zenaza was killed and Ankhesemen herself disappeared.
The second theory is that he died from an injury that occurred in a chariot crash. Significant damage to other parts of Tut's body has led scholars to believe severe physical trauma killed the king. Chariots were an essential part of leisure and warfare during this time, and the physical evidence is missing ribs, a broken leg, and a missing heart. There we go. Tut's ribcage and heart were damaged beyond repair from a possible accident. King Tut would have bled out in minutes if he didn't die on impact if he was in a chariot crash.
And the third theory is it was from a broken leg, which is a very interesting theory. So King Tut was known to have a compound fracture in his left leg, and there was presence of embalming fluid within the break, and also the leg lacks any signs of healing, so this suggests the break occurred shortly before he died. And this could have easily caused his death in so many ways. Like, first of all, it could have easily gotten infected, which would be very problematic at the time because antibiotics did not exist. And paired with King Tut's other health issues, the break could have been the last straw to put him on his deathbed. And this break in his leg could have easily happened with a trip down the stairs, a hunting accident. It could have been something as simple as falling off his bed.
Yeah, like that's crazy. Man, imagine you fall off your bed, you fucking break your leg, and you die the next day.
I mean, it's in elderly people, 20% deaths are from them breaking their hips.
Yeah, because they don't get it checked out. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the fourth theory is malaria, because fuck them fucking mosquitoes. Of course, like always. A 2010 or fuck. In 2010, Tut's mummy, they found evidence that he suffered from repeated malarial infections throughout his life. Malaria also remains a popular death amongst ancient royals, such as Alexander the Great himself. Malaria can easily kill enough, but this theory is often combined with the broken leg theory to suggest the two combined would overwhelm his system. The only issue with that is if he did die of malaria, why didn't a big majority of the population of Egypt die at this time as well? It's not a foolproof theory, but it is still possible.
The last theory is King Tut was doomed from birth, so he was genetically fucked more than he already was. So, analysis of Tut's mummy and family suggested that there was a long list of genetic and medical conditions that could have plagued him. These included, but are not limited to, is
Anyways.
So, some symptoms are a tall and slender stature, um, long limbs, flexible joints, scoliosis, which is the curvature of the spine. It can cause nearsightedness, glaucoma, skin stretchiness. He could have also had Klinefelter syndrome. So, this is when men have an extra X chromosome. Men are supposed to have XY, but this would be XXY. Okay, tall stature, sparse body hair. It can also cause learning difficulties, language delays, attention problems. It can even cause anxiety, depression. It's a rare endocrine disorder that affects the hypothalamus. And so this symptoms could be obesity, short stature, poor vision, hypothermia, frequent urination, and then he could have had scoliosis or sickle cell anemia, which is a genetic blood disorder where abnormal hemoglobin molecules cause red blood cells to become rigid and crescent shaped. And symptoms of this are anemia, so a low red blood cell count, fatigue, jaundice, swelling the hands and feet. So he could have had any of these, he could have had all of them. Now, not all these conditions obviously would lead to a death sentence, but it could indicate that he did have something that became fatal because of one of these conditions. So in 2012, a diagnosis showed that King Tut inherited temporal lobe epilepsy through his paternal side. He had epileptic seizures, especially back in this time, could have been proven to be fatal, especially if induced from light, like from the sun.
King Tut had actually, despite him being worshipped as a deity and all these great things that he did, he actually was forgotten about after his death. And there was a couple of reasons why. One of them with his reign being overshadowed by Horemheb. Also, Horemheb took a hammer to all records of Tutankhamun and the heretical legacy of Akhenaten. So that really didn't help either. They didn't really have any actual proof that he reigned, like, which is so weird for somebody to destroy those things, but whatever. But in 1922, a team led by Howard Carter actually discovered the tomb of King Tut, and it actually is the smallest tomb out of all of the pharaohs because it was unfinished. And it had been untouched for over 3,000 years. And they could have never imagined what they would unleash because they did have something that supposedly did happen when they opened his tomb and what kind of story they'd learn about King Tut. Regardless, this pharaoh seems like he was a bad bitch, becoming king at such a young age and dying in such a mysterious way that nobody still hasn't figured it out. So,
And please put in the comments below what you think happened.
yeah,
We would love to know.
we would.
So the first Reddit post is gonna be by Deleted. King Tut's popularity. And pinkish she with the cake emoji. His popularity stemmed from his mummified body being found in his tomb with all his treasures. He was the first and only pharaoh found this way.
Very true. He was very, I guess you could say he was bougie, my guy.
Very bougie.
Very bougie, my guy. Static Embrace. His was the first pharaonic tomb found intact. The amount of gold treasures and goods, as well as information gathered about art, tradition, culture, and religion, and embalming practices, revolutionized our understanding of one of the most long-lasting cultures in human history. This is because he was so young and non-influential during his time. He was so little known in his time that grave robbers forgot about him, which is really crazy, but lucky for us because nobody robbed him. So,
Waka waka waka. Where's the flame part?
oh,
Waka waka.
waka waka,
Flame.
flame. Damn.
Okay. Yeah, he is famous for being slightly forgotten about and then found again. There was a major effort to remove his name from history by his successors. His sarcophagus was found to be filled with resin, which was not normal. It made the separation of the sarcophagus. As far as I know, there are several reasons for this. Rush burial process, covering up the body deformation, final insult, not the most likely. So his daddy liked and implemented monotheism over older polytheism practices. This made him and those of his blood less likable by the diehards.
4 and dash 6. His parents were brother and sister, right? Yes, they were. And he also married his
Yep,
half
a
sister.
lot of people back then were
Yeah, they wanted to genetically intertwine and fuck. They looked at their siblings and said, "Yeah, I'll fuck her."
and their cousins.
On to the next Reddit post, which is by Noah underscore comparison 2778. Today I learned that King Tut's tomb was unusually small, like some men's penises. Um, King Money 8133. In the grand scheme of Egyptian history, King Tut was a fairly irrelevant pharaoh. He didn't reign for long and was a child for most of his reign, but he's probably the most or second famous pharaoh today solely because his tomb was the one that was found intact. Facts.
Funny underscore overall. Fascinating how those little accidents of history work out in the long run.
Very true. It is kind of funny. Release the dogs. I've seen his mask and his mummy in Egypt. The body is preserved amazingly well. You can see texture of his skin, his eyebrows, and even his eyelashes. That'd be kind of cool to see somebody who's like 3,000 years old, like intact. Kind of scary
It
too.
would be kinda cool.
It'd be very cool.
I think that's supposed to be these nuts.
Oh,
21. Been there, saw it, confirmed small. I found it interesting because I was under the impression that Tut was a man of Egypt, but he only became famous because there were items left in his tomb. It wasn't looted. There were much, much bigger tombs that were eventually emptied by thieves, including the pyramids.
yeah. Them damn grave robbers. Oh,
Yeah.
full feline nomancy. I bet all the pharaohs laughed at him because of the small tomb energy. Rip to him.
Yeah.
He's still the most famous though, so ha, suck it.
Yeah, joke's on you.
Joke's on you. Rip. Four-eyed troll, not entirely safe from robbery. It has been revealed subsequently that Howard Carter opened the tomb and stole a number of items before it was recorded. Ooh, he's a thieving asshole. Damn. He got caught.
Blue shocks. Uno reverse from the grave. Impressive.
Reverse from the grave. Oh my god. Aaron SW. King Tut owes his fame to Steve Martin?
Who the fuck? Steve Martin.
Google time. Steve Martin. King Tut. Oh, there's a song called King Tut by Steep Canyon Rangers and Steve Martin. Oh, it's an SNL skit. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I've never heard of that, and I've never seen that before. But I know King Tut.
Yeah. Yeah, I know King Tut, but never heard of that.
I feel like a fucking fake fan. Fake fan. Hashtag fake fan.
You
Oh,
wrote for the left. Oh,
Shloopy Duperson. Yeah, fuck your grave, Grandpa. Gets turned into paint.
wow.
Like, what? I'm so confused.
So this one is by Internet Traveler, and it's Pharaoh's curse that killed more than 20 people who opened King Tut's tomb in 1922.
Wah, wah.
And deleted says, how did they put uranium in toxic waste?
I don't know. How did they? They fucked up somewhere.
Inside _ad _7162, they proved it was mushroom spores. Didn't they, like 50 plus years?
Well, guess you can say you never got high off of mushrooms. It just ended bad. Alright, King Tut, what a pharaoh he was, idolized by many back then and many now in the modern age. I wish I could be a pharaoh, but for now, I am just an average podcasting white woman. Thank you for listening.
Me too.
Yeah, we're just average podcasting white women. Leave a like for that. Thank you for listening to another episode of Murder Mysteries and more. Be sure to check back in for another exciting episode next week. And as always, remember to keep your eyes open. You never know when you'll travel back in time and become a pharaoh only to end up dead in a tomb at a young age. Just kidding. Or am I?